When a business deal goes wrong, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Probably some high-stakes courtroom drama, right? You picture lawyers digging through contracts, looking for that one little clause to win the case. But what if I told you the biggest threat to your company's bottom line isn't a lawsuit at all? What if it's actually a series of small, seemingly harmless conversations that are happening every single day? Today we're going to pull back the curtain on why businesses are leaking money. And trust me, it starts long before anyone even thinks about calling a lawyer.
This statement right here, this is the key to everything we're talking about. It's not about some dramatic showdown in front of a judge. It's about a slow leak, a tiny drip, drip, drip of lost profit that's happening in the background of your daily work. You know, in project updates, on client calls, during team huddles. It's this quiet failure that nobody really notices until it's way too late.
So if the problem isn't in the courtroom, where is it? Well, it's right here, in what we're calling the quiet failure. These are the kinds of issues that just fly under the radar. They're not big, explosive events. It's more like a gradual erosion of value that a lot of companies just chalk up to the cost of doing business. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be that way. You actually have the power to stop it.
Let's make this super real for a second. Have you ever been on a project where a client says, "Hey, while you're at it, could you just..." And that tiny little "just" somehow turns into a week of extra unpaid work. Or maybe you finished a huge project, you look at the final numbers, and you get that sinking feeling in your stomach like, wait, where did all our profit go? This isn't just bad luck. These are symptoms of a much deeper systemic problem.
Just look at these symptoms. Scope creep that nobody questions just becomes the new baseline. A technical team makes a brilliant decision, but they have no idea it just completely blew the budget. A potential risk gets mentioned in passing, but never actually gets escalated. Each one of these seems kind of small on its own, right? But put them all together and you've got a perfect storm that can quietly sink a project's profitability.
Okay, so if those are the symptoms, what's the actual disease? This is where we need a really fundamental shift in our thinking. We've got to stop looking at contracts as a legal problem. The real battle is won or lost on the front lines, with the people who are delivering the work every single day. This slide just cuts right to the heart of it. The myth is that contracts are this complex legal game played by lawyers. The reality, they're an operational discipline. The real failure isn't buried in some obscure subsection of the fine print. No way. It's in the casual yes someone gives on a phone call, or the failure to write down a change that was agreed over coffee. It's all about follow-through, not fine print.
Just think about that for a moment. Calling in the lawyers to fix a contractual mess is kind of like calling the fire department after your house has already burned to the ground. I mean, sure, they can help you sort out the insurance claim, but they can't save your house. The real power isn't in cleaning up the mess, it's in preventing the fire from ever starting.
So if we want to prevent the fire instead of just sifting through the ashes, what do we need to do? Well, it all boils down to two really practical, totally learnable disciplines. And this isn't about legal theory or complicated jargon. It's about how your team operates day in and day out.
First up, we have contract management. The key word here is active. Think of it like driving a car. You don't just point it in the right direction, hit cruise control, and hope you get there. Of course not. You're constantly steering, adjusting your speed, and watching out for hazards. That is active contract management. You are steering the agreement, making sure it stays on course and reaches its destination safely.
Now, the second discipline, and honestly, this might be the most important one, is commercial awareness. This is all about having the ability to connect what you do every day to the bigger financial picture. So, for example, let's say you're a software developer and a client asks for a cool new feature. Commercial awareness is that little voice in your head that goes beyond the code and asks, okay, but how does this affect our timeline, our budget? What about our other commitments? It's that instinct to see the price tag attached to every decision. So how do you actually put this stuff into practice? It's not rocket science, I promise. It really comes down to 4 simple habits. First, get super clear on what a win actually looks like for everybody involved. Second, keep a really close eye on your progress against what you promised to deliver. Third, and this is the big one, get a handle on change before it gets a handle on you. And fourth, you actively sniff out risks when they're still small, long before they can grow into full-blown disasters.
Okay, so we've covered the theory. Now let's get practical. What does this actually look like in the real world for different people on your team? Let's break down how this applies to you in your day-to-day job.
If you're a project manager, listen up. You are basically the guardian of the project's value. And this isn't about being some tough gatekeeper who just says no all the time. It's about having a simple process for change so when a client asks for something new, you can say, that's a fantastic idea. Let's run it through our change process so we can track it properly and make sure we deliver it perfectly for you. All of a sudden, keeping records isn't just bureaucracy, it's your best friend for protecting the project and keeping everyone on the same page.
For those of you in client-facing roles, this is a bit of a delicate dance, I get it. Your job is to keep that relationship strong, but not at the expense of your company's profit. So, instead of an optimistic, yeah, sure, we can probably do that, you shift to crystal clear expectation setting. You might say something like, I love that suggestion. Let's take a look at our agreement together and figure out how we can make that happen without blowing the budget. It actually builds more trust, not less, because there are no nasty surprises down the road.
And hey, if you're a technical expert, an engineer, a designer, a consultant, you might feel like you're miles away from the contract, but you are absolutely critical in all of this. You don't have to be a lawyer. You just have to be curious. It's about developing that gut instinct to pause and ask, hang on, what are the ripple effects of this decision? Does this change our timeline, our costs? Just knowing when to raise your hand and say, hey guys, we should probably check the commercial side of this is an incredibly valuable skill.
So we've talked a lot about how to prevent problems. But let's flip the script. What's the upside? What happens when you get this right? Because adopting this kind of mindset is about so much more than just dodging bullets.
The benefits are huge, both for the organization and for you personally. The company, obviously, gets better profits, fewer disputes, and stronger client relationships. But for you, imagine walking into a meeting feeling totally confident and in control, knowing you've got the data and the commercial logic to back up every single one of your decisions. That's what this gives you, real authority and practical tools to manage your work effectively.
And this, right here, is the ultimate payoff. This isn't just about playing defense to prevent loss. It's about playing offense. When you're actively managing an agreement and you deeply understand what drives it commercially, you start to spot opportunities everywhere. Opportunities to innovate, to improve service, to create more value, and to turn a simple contract into a real source of competitive advantage.
This quote just nails it. It perfectly captures the shift that's happening in business right now. In a world of tight margins and crazy high expectations, understanding the commercial reality of your work is no longer just a nice-to-have skill that's reserved for the finance team. It is a need-to-have. It's the new, essential literacy of the modern workplace.
So I'll leave you with this one question. Think about your own organization. Are your contracts living, breathing documents that are actively used to drive your business forward? Or are they signed, filed away in some digital drawer and completely forgotten, quietly leaking money in every single meeting? The choice is yours. And you know what? The answer could change everything.